Welcome back, people of Hexaco, Hex Tribe. If you're new here, welcome. You're in the right place. Figured I'd just do a stream today, just off the cuff here. I want to focus on the narrative behind Hex and, the use case of things like Hex and PulseChain and PulseX, why they actually have value aside from people just saying community, community, community all day long, which is very important. Don't get me wrong. It might even be the most important thing, right? Because you need people to portray the narrative forward. But I want to really focus today and talk about why these cryptos, in my opinion, have so much value, have so much price potential, and so much opportunity to make a lot of people very wealthy if they play the game right. If they play the game right, guys. So let's see what's going on in the chat. I'll get right into it after I say hello to everybody. Crypty Girl, good to see you. It's been a while. Trevor Hansen, Joe Steezy, Unplugged Dad, Hexakin, Greenhorn, what's going on? Yo, what's going on, everybody? Great to see all you guys. Good timing. Yeah, I guess it's no better time than right now. So, yeah, guys, for the newbies and the old guys alike, it's always good to kind of refresh our investment thesis as to why we're in this ecosystem in the first place. Why do these coins have value? I saw BitBoy tweet the other day, or maybe earlier today, trying to write Hex off as a meme coin because he's a coward and doesn't want to just admit that it's actually a pretty solid coin with a great use case and great product market fit, addressing an over $7 trillion market, CDs and high interest savings accounts. But no, he just writes it up as a meme coin because he wants to fit in with the altcoin dailies of the world, right? They want to fit in with their little clubs, so he can't go too. He has to pretend. Some people out there like to pretend and cope with their journey into the Hex ecosystem that, maybe they hated on it before. So they feel weird about just flipping from 0 to 100 and saying, okay, I love Hex now, which, BitBoy is a smart guy. He obviously knows that it's going to be a huge asset in his portfolio in the next bull market. It might even end up being 80 to 90% of his portfolio after all the gains are done. But people weasel their way out of the logic. And rather than just saying, hey, I was wrong or I changed my mind, they try to, sneak their way in there and say, well, it's a pretty good meme coin and we're adding it to our portfolio, yada, yada, yada. And they'll just make up these narratives to themselves to help them feel better about, maybe understanding the coin a little bit more. And it's like, it's hard for people to admit they're wrong, but baby steps, right? Baby steps. And, I do applaud BitBoy for, I do think, I just called him a coward, but I do think what he's doing is bold. Actually, I'll rescind my coward statement. He's kind of a wild card, right? He's going after all these people, very entertaining guy. But, a lot of people are going to be doing this in the next bull market. They're going to be changing their mind subtly rather than just saying, okay, yeah, I like Hex now and I was wrong before and now we like it. I learned more about it and I was wrong and I like it. And here's why. But to write Hex off as just a meme coin is, I think, disingenuous to the entire project and to the foundation that this project was built on, because a lot of people don't realize how much design intention went into Hex, to design a high yield savings account basically on the blockchain. It wasn't as easy as just, okay, write a couple lines of code and push it out there. I mean, there's a lot of work that went into the share system and a lot of design features that got forgotten about from the launch phase, the 1 year launch phase. In fact, there was probably more, just as much time spent designing and developing the launch phase as like the rest of the whole code base. And that's over, so we'll never have to deal with that part again. But yeah, no, I mean, all this means is really, it's a net positive. People are opening their eyes, and I can't be mad at anybody for choosing to come over to the winning team. I can't be mad at BitBoy. I really do kind of like him at the end of the day. He's just a human being. And, he kind of, he's sneaking his way in there and pretending that Hex is a meme coin, I guess. But, I'm on a tangent, and this show really isn't about that tweet at all or any of that nonsense on Twitter. It's just to really drill this point home that if you're holding Hex, I want you guys to know what you're holding, because it's way more than a meme coin. But at the same time, it also is a meme coin. At the end of the day, what are all these cryptocurrencies, right? What are they? They're just battles of narrative memes. Everyone's competing for dominance in their narrative meme, and people cherry pick and choose, the hot memes of the day. We see this wave of AI coins coming and going. When you've been around the block as long as I have, you've seen so many things come and go that you're able to just say to a lot of things, oh, okay, that's the flavor of the month, and that's not going to be around for much longer than a couple of weeks. A couple influencers might be paid to pump it, and they'll pump and dump and be on their merry way. Adding GPT to the end of your coin doesn't necessarily give it value, and doesn't mean that it's even loosely related to AI in general. But people, they hitch off these buzzwords and they go for a ride with the hot topic of the day. But HEX has been more than that, because it was built to stand the test of time and to last many, many cycles, many, many years, potentially even longer than some of our lifetimes, right? I mean, I've staked HEX for up to 15 years, obviously in a ladder, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4-year stakes all the way up until 15-year mark, which is the maximum. For those that don't know, you can stake your HEX up to 15.2 years if you want to. And some people like me are just crazy enough to do that. But it helps when you understand that it was designed with such a solid foundation, and it was built with a long-term vision in mind. A lot of these coins, I don't think they're even designed to last more than a cycle, if not more than just a couple of hype events, and buy the rumor, sell the news, and some traders are happy, lots of people get wrecked. And that's the story. That's the story for a lot of these coins and how they go. But, why has HEX been around for 4 years now, flawlessly operating with 100% uptime? It's not by mistake, right? It's not a fluke. It's isolated code, right? It's isolated and modular, and it's locked away from the consensus layer, which what that means is, Ethereum, the consensus layer, soon to be PulseChain. That's like the bridge, right? The bridge, or the road, I should say. It's like the road that all the cars are driving on, and the smart contracts driving on top of the road, like Uniswap, like HEX, like soon to be PulseX, all that stuff. Those are just cars or different vehicles traveling on the road. And the thing about Bitcoin is that it is both the coin itself and the network layer coin that rewards miners, and it's also the store of value coin. So the network coin is the main coin. And you can't really build anything on top of Bitcoin, right? You can't build other coins. You can't build smart contracts. So all the code is compiled together. It's messy. The founder calls it spaghetti code. That's a common term in the developer world ecosystem. And, the Bitcoin code is spaghetti code. It takes a Bitcoiner 9 to 10 months to even get up to speed on the Bitcoin code base, to even be able to make the smallest commit or the smallest improvement in the Bitcoin core protocol. That's no good, right? And on top of that, there's many other shortcomings of Bitcoin, but there's things that Bitcoin did well, and then there's things that we can learn from with Bitcoin. So what HEX aims to be was, okay, we know Bitcoin proved the proof of concept that cryptos can be a store of value, right? And it did store value so well. Bitcoin went from 1 penny to $69,000 in 10 years? Pretty impressive, right? But now, Bitcoin nearing the top of its S curve of adoption. There's room for new players to come in. There's room for new players, new contenders. And that's what HEX is. It's a contender for the premier store of value token in all of crypto. And it's a lofty goal, but it's a goal that I don't know if anybody else is even trying to achieve. And, when you go for a goal that's that high, you'll find that there actually sometimes is very little competition. So with HEX, we're not reinventing the wheel. The original design intention of HEX was not to make something totally crazy that's brand new, but to take what already works. And again, that's crypto as a store of value. We know that works. Bitcoin stored value fabulously if you were able to withstand the volatility. A lot of people weren't. HEX actually helps you withstand the volatility with the staking mechanism, which I'll get into in a minute. But where was I? Rather than having the code be messy and complicated and take very, very long to make any improvements, the Bitcoin code base is kind of calcified, right? It moves so slowly that you really can't get any major improvements in the code anymore. And some people think that's fine, but technology should improve. And so if you isolate the code base away from the network layer, you lock it in an immutable smart contract, it's actually much safer. Bitcoin's had 2 inflation bugs. HEX has had none. HEX has had 0 bugs because it's been, again, operating with 100% uptime. And also, it's been audited by 3 It's been audited 3 times by 2 of crypto's most well-reputable auditing firms. So triple audited, super safe. Code's been reviewed. It's openly viewable on a public blockchain, but it's immutable the way smart contracts were supposed to be. And I think people miss how important that is too. Immutability on a smart contract is good because that means nobody can sneak in there later on with an admin key or go through some kind of backdoor and mess around and fiddle with the rules of the system, right? Things like the inflation rate being 3.69%, things like the share rate ratcheting up every time people unstake or restake. These things are coded into the smart contract and they can never be changed. And that's kind of what the original intention of smart contracts was to be. Now, yes, people do deploy improvements. Uniswap has deployed new smart contracts because, their V2 was an immutable contract. And so to do V3, you need to build another one. But that's such a good thing because there's no way it can possibly be hacked or broken into. And guys, we've seen billions of dollars lost to crypto hacks primarily from contracts that weren't really immutable at all, or that had a secret owner, otherwise known as an admin key, or a secret address, maybe that was a backdoor. And that's how you get hacked, right? There's all kinds of different attack surfaces that you can go about for hacking, smart contracts, bridges, whatever they may be. And Hex has had none of that. So it's been the safest beacon of safety in all of crypto while everything else crashes and crumbles, losing people billions of dollars. So many people right now in cryptocurrency are salty. They're just salty because they've gotten wrecked in one way or another. And, this crypto game, it's like, try not to step on a landmine out there because there's a million of them. And there's a million ways to die in the West. And a lot of people lose a lot of money in crazy different ways. NFT scams, outright rug pulls, just generic hacks, pickle.finance, yearn.finance, all these different protocols that have been hacked, and people just kind of forget or get bitter. A lot of people, new guys, come into crypto and they get bitter because they put in, let's say 10,000 of their hard-earned dollars that they worked their whole life for, and they're left with nothing because, one reason or another, day trading, chasing the shiny object, or maybe you really just buy into a narrative and the coin blows up from a technical perspective. So Hex has had none of that, and it survived for, it's on its 4th year of survival with flawless operation. That in itself is very impressive, to the point where it's like, if you're doubting the Hex protocol at this point, how much more time do you really need in order for that to prove its value as a safe asset to hold? How much more time is it going to take? Ask yourself that. Do you want to wait another 2 or 3 years to get involved because you're still a little bit unsure? Some people will always make up a reason not to get involved in something. Really, it's, when you realize the risk or the lack thereof, it starts to seem too risky not to get involved, in my opinion. So yeah, that's basically the safety and the immutability of the smart contract cannot be overlooked. There's new coins that pop up every day, but how many have actually stood the test of time, right? So all the people in the early days complaining, oh, it's too new, that might be a valid point. You don't want to just rush into something and buy it overnight, but 4 years later, we're still here. 10,000x returns later, we're at an 80-90% dip right now. I think it's actually about an 87 or so percent dip from all-time highs. We could do 1,000x again in the next bull cycle from bottom to top. We could in Hex itself, not to mention, I'll get to PLS and PLSX obviously in a minute, but there's so much to talk about with Hex, right? It's designed to replace a $7 trillion market or more. I mean, that's the value of all CDs in the traditional financial system. And if you add in the savings accounts on top of that, it's multi-trillions of dollars in the US alone. So Bitcoin walked so that Hex could run. Bitcoin proved itself as a store of value. And a lot of people think of Bitcoin as digital gold, but here's the thing. It's like, that can be digital gold, and Bitcoin and Hex can coexist. They can live alongside each other, but Hex is just kind of like Bitcoin, except that it does more. So it's got this functionality of staking, earning yield, paying stakers to hold the price up and paying inflation to them rather than paying inflation to miners to dump the price down. That's what happens in Bitcoin. It's just a negative externality. You've always got miners that need to sell their Bitcoin to pay for electricity costs. Why not just abstract that out which is another benefit, come to think of it, of being immutable and modular, right? Modular means you're locked away safely in a smart contract and you're not tied to the network layer, which is always getting updated or things can go wrong. You're not directly tied to that network layer. So, right. What's the goal of cryptocurrency? We want to replace all the products at a bank. Okay. Second most popular product at the bank is a CD or a savings account after, I think, checking accounts or whatever. And we got to replace all these middlemen because they're clearly not working. Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, Silvergate, banks are crumbling. You know, the 2008 financial crisis, how quickly people forget that. You know, the banks have never had your best interest at heart. They're corrupt middlemen that have terrible hours. You're only available from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Terrible customer service. You know, you're talking to some guy that routes you to 3 people before you can get your account unlocked again. And they shut you down at will. You know, your money in the bank is almost not even your money because the bank can do whatever they want. If they deem that maybe you're up to no good, whether or not they're right or wrong, they can shut you down. And they don't even insure your money. They don't even back your money 1-to-1. In fact, 0% reserve ratio in the banks right now. The financial system is just screwed beyond repair. So we're building a parallel financial system, and that's where crypto steps in. And, you know, Bitcoin, like I said, that can be digital gold. That's fine. But let HEX come in and take the digital savings account, right? It's still a store of value, but it pays you yield trustlessly. And trustless yield was really one of the biggest innovations with HEX in terms of it being kind of the next generation, next iteration store of value. When it comes to cryptocurrency, you know, Bitcoin was version 1, right? But HEX can be version 2 as the store of value. So yeah, it's a high interest savings account. People are chasing yield in this economy, right? People need to beat inflation. So they're chasing yield. Why not have an asset that pays you to hold it, pays you to hold the price up, and pays inflation directly to the staking class, which is doing the action that's the best possible thing for the price. So yeah, HEX was actually designed with fundamentals built in. It was designed to go up in value. That was one of the design intentions. That's because people don't buy anything if they don't think it's going to go up in value. Why not put in staking mechanisms to make sure that longer pays better, bigger pays better? It's always attractive to hold for a longer time period. And what do we see? We see people staking HEX for an average of 7 years, 6.4 years maybe, actually. That's longer than any traditional vehicle I've ever known about. You know, most people only have 1 or 2 or 3 year CDs at the bank. People are locking their HEX up for 15 years. So that's another great thing. It's working awesome. It's working exactly like intended. People are using it as their digital crypto savings account, you know, money under the mattress type of thing, money that you own, that the banks do not own, that they can't shut off, censorship resistant, peer-to-peer digital store of value, the way crypto is supposed to be. And so when you talk about product market fit, that's what product market fit is. Product market fit is basically saying that, hey, we're the total addressable market on something like as big and lofty as a savings account, or even, you know, Bitcoin, for example, it's a multi-trillion-dollar market. Gold is a $7 trillion market, I believe. Savings and CDs are even higher. So the total addressable market of money to flow in from traditional vehicles to crypto vehicles like HEX, there's infinitely more money to be siphoned from the traditional system than there already is in the crypto ecosystem. So for that reason, I'm insanely bullish on the price when you think about the trillions of dollars that could potentially come into the ecosystem over the next decade or so, right? And I'm going to be holding crypto for at least the next decade, probably my entire life. Crypto is the new paradigm, right? I would like to be living in a world where everyone uses crypto and where everybody can transact freely. But yeah, that's what HEX is, guys. High interest digital savings account. We already know Bitcoin can be a store of value. Why not just make a better one that pays stakers instead of miners? And why not launch it on a brand new blockchain? That's where PulseChain comes in, right? The problem with Ethereum is that the gas transaction fees on Ethereum had been way too high for far too long. PulseChain is there to save all the Ethereum users, not just Hexicans, but everybody, to go to a better copy of Ethereum. That's what PulseChain is. It's a copy of Ethereum with way cheaper fees. So it's going to be almost the same user experience, but a lot faster and cheaper. And I think people are going to really enjoy that. I mean, I, as a Hexican staker, definitely want that because I don't want to pay $500 to unstake my HEX stakes, which is literally what I've had to pay in the past. I've had, peak of the last bull market, I had a stake that I had to pay, I think, $500 in gas fees. A lot of people get priced out of ecosystems when, let's say, your stake isn't even worth $500, right? Let's say your stake is small and you want to start with $20 just to experiment. Well, you literally can't even experiment with $20 on the PulseChain or on the Ethereum network today, because by the time you're chewed up with gas fees, you're going to be left with maybe like 50 cents, right? You try staking HEX, that costs you $10. Your swap costs you $15. Good luck if you're trying to do anything less than $50 over on Ethereum. So it's a whale game over there. They're pricing a lot of their users out with the fees. That's where PulseChain comes in. Preach, Richard Jr., preach. Yeah, I'm basically just giving you the Richard narrative because he's been MIA for a while building. So I figured I'd give you your little fix of what Richard would say. Wild SJ, how you doing? Good to see you in the chat. Bro, you are looking great. Thank you. I shaved and I got a haircut. So how do I look, like 4 or 5 years younger? Maybe. But thank you, Mr. Cozy Desk. Yeah, we've got probably a lot of interesting comments to read in the chat. I was kind of just on a streak there, but I got distracted by the chat. HEX is an idea, and a community is simply the best. It's honest, consistent. When the world sees this, only good can come. Yeah, exactly, guys. I mean, HEX, besides having just the best fundamentals and a solid use case and a solid product market fit, you need product market fit, guys. You need that. But you also need community. You need people to drive this narrative forward, to tell other people about it. Without the community, the price doesn't pump because we don't get the network effects from Metcalfe's law. Everybody that you add into the ecosystem, it creates this network effect, this exponential growth rate, because they tell more people about it, and then those people tell more people, and it's this flowering, blossoming effect, and that's what the community does. Not to mention, we got the best logo, best website, best founder. I mean, pink and yellow. Come on, guys. There was so much thought went into HEX. Even the color scheme was thought about ad nauseum. And I believe they settled on pink and yellow because they're, scroll through the top 100 on CoinMarketCap. You see any pink and yellow logos? No, you don't. You see a lot of blue, a lot of green, a lot of boring old logos. It sticks out, guys. Even the color psychology is important here. Every little piece has been designed for a reason. Tequila Sunrise is the gradient, actually. And yeah, so when you're getting into something like HEX, that's what you're getting into, okay? You're getting into a long-term, stable, secure store of value. I shouldn't say stable. That's a lie. It's highly, highly volatile, but it is a store of value because anyone that's been holding it for 2 years or more is in profit. You know what I mean? Go back 2 years ago. I mean, if you bought HEX under 7 cents, you're definitely in profit. And anyone buying and dollar cost averaging in it this low, it's probably going to be, I don't want to promise anything, not a guarantee, but it's likely that you'll be permanently in profit even after the lows of the next bear market, right? Because let's say we shoot up 1,000x and we do another 90% dip. Hey, you're still up 10x from whatever your current bags are today. And again, hopefully you take a little profit in the bull market and stuff. But that's the power of long-term holding, guys. A lot of people just get so confused. The shiny object of the week, they'll chase a pump. Coin goes up 50x. They're looking to go buy the top of that. They're not thinking about, the long-term vision, which is really the vision of HEX and the vision of PulseChain is the vision of crypto, right? Adoption and onboarding. That's really all that matters. We've already got peer-to-peer money, cryptographically sound private keys. Now we just got to get a private key into everyone's hand. It's really that simple. I believe that's what the wallet will also help with doing, the Richard Hart wallet coming out soon. That's a joke, right? Soon, of course. It's always soon. But yeah, the wallet, getting a wallet into everyone's hand, teaching everybody about how to use crypto, how to hold their own money, not your keys, not your coins. Don't be a day trader. You're not smarter than the market. Just hodl and you can achieve financial freedom. And this is what we have to teach to the world, right? And what better vehicles to do those with than HEX and PulseChain, right? With so much price potential behind this, it makes it way more fun to be hodling a 1,000x potential coin rather than, a measly little 10x potential coin that might not even be around in a couple of years, right? So yeah, people only buy this stuff because they think it's going to go up. But as a nice little side effect of buying crypto, you also just so happen to have censorship resistant peer-to-peer digital money in the palm of your hand. You can go transact with anybody else in the world that agrees that your crypto coin has value. There's all kinds of routing protocols that swap this. And there's all kinds of things that, if you like Ethereum and I like HEX, there's different payment gateways now that lets you, do swap one for another so that both parties get what they want. And this is the world we're moving towards. It's going to be great. So as a side effect of people's own greed of wanting to get rich and wanting to make money and mad gains, you get hooked into this crypto game, which is really just a superior way to operate in the world. I mean, peer-to-peer digital money with no off switch, no crazy inflation, no Federal Reserve printing money to oblivion. Nobody's stealing your purchasing power, which is what they're doing with inflation. It's literal theft. They're stealing your purchasing power because you're working harder than ever before and your money's worth less than it's ever been before. So that's inflation for you. Go to Chipotle. How much does a burrito bowl cost today? How much did it cost 5 years ago? We need somewhere where all this extra money can flow, and we need more sound, stable money. So what better assets than to flow into HEX and PulseChain and PulseX and this whole ecosystem, right? All this extra printed funny money, made up monopoly money that the government's printing can flow into this better alternative parallel financial system. We could all be more free. We could all have a better quality of life because when you are free to transact, truly your life is better. Money is freedom. I mean, you might not agree with that, but to some degree, you do have to buy your freedom. Otherwise, risk being a wage slave or working for someone else for the rest of your life. Buying your freedom is something that it's an uncomfortable truth, right? It's not like, yeah, the world's not fair, right? There's no universal basic income. People are born in better or worse parts of the world. People are born with better or worse families, better or worse socioeconomic status. The world's not fair. You got to buy your way out of it. You got to buy your freedom. Good evening, Coffee. What's up, Hex? What's up, Kaisa? How are you? So PulseChain is the new road, right? It's the newly paved highway. Ethereum is like, these Chicago roads with potholes and all this stuff. And, PulseChain is like the Autobahn in Germany. You can go as fast as you want. It's just purely awesome. No traffic. I mean, who knows? There might be a lot of traffic on PulseChain. Wouldn't be the worst problem to have. And then PulseX, guys, how can we forget? I might need to get me a PulseX shield as well. I'm missing the trifecta, but buy and burn function, platform fees, rewarded on the premier automated market maker, the premier decentralized exchange built on PulseChain. That coin's going to do amazingly well too. That coin's going to rip. I mean, it's going to do great. So I like all three of these coins. And for people that don't know about PulseX, right? It's a coin where every time somebody transacts on the DEX, PulseX itself is the DEX, but the DEX has its own native coin called PLSX, ticker symbol. And every time people are transacting back and forth, some tiny percent of the fee that people pay a 0.29% fee, 0.07 of that, 0.07 of the 0.29 goes to literally buy up the price of PLSX. So you're buying the price, number go up, and you're burning it. You're taking the supply away. That's what buy and burn means. So with all these transaction fees, the code simply skimps a little of that transaction fee off of every transaction. And there's millions of transactions going on all day long, all year long. Uniswap did $1 billion of volume last year. What's 0.07 times $1 billion, right? 0.07%, I should say. It's a lot of money. There's many millions of dollars that you're buying and burning. You're buying the price up and you're getting rid of supply. So it's deflationary. People like that. It doesn't have to be deflationary, but supply going down and price going up. Those are two things that's really the only two things that matter when it comes to pumping the price, right? Either you increase demand or you decrease supply, but even decreasing supply doesn't matter if you don't buy the price up first, Let's be realistic. That all sounds great when the platform is actually here. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. But you can test it out right now. You can test it out and see that it's all working pretty fine, pretty flawlessly. Crypto Coffee, I just heard about HEX and have a little over 6K HEX. Is that still good for PulseChain launch? Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad little bag. If I was just starting out in crypto, I'd be putting every dollar I had into it personally. But yeah, that's what I did for many years. Every paycheck I got, I would put some into crypto. The only difference with me is that when I was first starting out, I lost a bunch of it doing dumb shit, day trading, buying poop coins. If you're starting out in HEX, I think you're in the right place. And I would just say, keep dollar cost averaging. I'm not trying to force HEX on anybody, but it is my favorite coin. And there's other coins you can buy that might not suck, but the number is very, very few. Out of 20,000 coins, maybe only 10 or 20 are going to do much kind of life-changing returns. And I'm in crypto for the life-changing returns, right? So 6K HEX, yeah, great start, man. Great start. And it's to each their own, right? It's however much you're comfortable with. That sounds like a great starting point. I think SJ is everywhere and just applies camouflage and blends into the environment and removes the camo when she appears. Yes, I believe that's true. She wears a ghillie suit and just sneaks around everywhere. I've gotten numb to the hopium. Yeah, well, look, guys, we got to kill the time somehow, okay? I'm still here, still pumping our bags for us. So I understand that waiting is boring, but this is what I chose to do with my time, right? Got to keep the dream alive. PulseChain is coming soon. And it really has never been sooner, guys. PulseChain testnet v4 right around the corner. You can't ask for much more. It's just changing the inflation rate is the main issue with PulseChain testnet, right? You need to redeploy the testnet to 1,000x the inflation rate to essentially 10x the APR for validators. And when validators are profitable, that's a huge plus. When the chain goes live and validators are profitable, you're going to get a way more decentralized ecosystem because people that want to validate can actually make money. So I welcome PulseChain v4 and launch would be nice, right? Launch would sure be nice. K4K, what's going on? Hey, is K4K in the chat or am I? Hey, what's going on, bro? Thank you for coming in. Crypto 7's here. Benny Blanco's here. Dude, we got a bunch of OGs in the chat and some new guys too. Welcome to all the new guys. Listen to these guys. These are rich guys. Crypto 7, Benny Blanco, especially K4K. These guys did crypto right, and they're continuing to do it right. And there's a lot of us out there that we realize that this narrative that we're trying to push is really boils down to just buy and hold and shut the hell up. For a lot of this stuff is just noise, right? You go on Twitter and there's people chirping in your ear. Check out my new NFT collection. Check out my new coin, it's just like you're drowning in it if you let yourself focus on all that stuff. It's coming at you from every angle, but you need to find the signal and tune out the noise and hold and don't trade. That's all you need to do. You need to buy, hold, dollar cost average, and sit on your hands. You literally would be better off just sitting on your hands and playing video games than scrolling through Twitter and getting distracted by, the hundreds of new shiny objects that are popping up left and right, especially if you're brand new. Because I remember being brand new. I remember looking at every white paper. Everyone was selling me their dream and like, hey, check out this white paper. Check out this project, that project. Man, I must have bought into like 30 projects in the 2017 bubble, probably 20 or 30. And they all flopped, man. They all went down with the ship. And I would have been, well, of course I should have sold the top, but I would have been better off just holding Bitcoin at that time. You know what I mean? That's why in 2018, all the Bitcoin maxis started to seem smart because their coin just went down less than all the other coins. But that's really just it, right? If you're okay with more volatility, you can hold altcoins like HEX for many cycles if you can withstand 90% dips. If you only want 70% dips, maybe Bitcoin's your thing. But look, guys, we're playing this game where we're trying to decide between a 70% dip or a 90%. Personally, just give me the 90% dip because I want the 10,000x returns. I don't want the Bitcoin 70% dip if I'm only going to get a 5x return on Bitcoin in the next cycle, right? You got to realize the more massive these things become, they become heavier objects to move. They have more volume or more liquidity. It's not always a good thing. You want to look for coins with middle to lower liquidity that are newer, not super low, obviously, but you want the coin to pump. And when things become very heavy and calcified and ossified, right? Bitcoin's been around, 10, 12 years now? the gains become weaker and weaker every cycle. There's diminishing returns in amplitude. If you look at the previous 4 cycles of Bitcoin, every single one has had diminishing returns in amplitude, meaning ROI, essentially, on each cycle. So, going from 1 penny to $30 and back down to $2, that's pretty extreme, right? It's like what, 3,000x or something? And then again, 90% dip, right? 92% dip. That's kind of where HEX is at after this first cycle. This first HEX cycle was kind of like the Bitcoin 1 penny to 30 cents or $30 cycle. It's kind of like the penny to $30 to back down to $2 cycle. Way, way long ago, before I even got into crypto. That was way long ago. I had heard about crypto at the time. I just, all I knew is it's for drugs. I heard about crypto through the dark web and then mining. Me and my friends used to joke about mining Bitcoin, but I wish we just put that into action, man. We used to joke about it all the time because that you can mine it on a computer. We used to talk about, getting our old laptops together and just mining Bitcoin, but there were no resources. There was no YouTubers promoting it. There was nobody, it wasn't necessarily easy to figure out. And it was more of kind of a pipe dream of, oh, LOL. Yeah, we should totally do that. We never did. I regret it, but I'm not missing out on this next opportunity, guys. Not missing out again. Coffee, thanks for pumping our bags. No problem, T-Gray. My pleasure. I love pumping. If there's one thing I love, it's pumping. Buy and hold and tell everybody. Yeah, that's true. You can buy and hold and then increase the network effect of your ecosystem. So talk about the Richard Hart ecosystem, right? The PulseChain ecosystem. You don't even have to mention Richard's name, right? He's the founder. He's not, he doesn't control HEX or anything. You can't shut it. You can't shut HEX off, right? So buy, hold, and tell everybody. If you want, right? You don't have to shill if you don't want to, but if you care about your investment, a lot of us that have gotten rich on HEX have just decided to keep shilling because we know there's more meat on the bone for other people coming in. And yeah, whales will wash themselves out. Some guys took all their profit in the last cycle and now they're done. They're out. So it's out with the old and with the new. Let's do it all over again because I really do think that this ecosystem has a lot of pumping potential. I'll tell you that. A lot of potential. Hexologist is here. Oh my God. Guys, I'm so nervous. Hexologist is here. Oh my God. I hope I don't embarrass myself in front of Hexo. Yeah, we got a fully stacked chat right now. 300 people in the chat. Big chat energy in the chat. Let's see. I got my friend got me into HEX, was drowning in debt until HEX came along. Wow, congratulations. Yeah, nothing like getting out of debt. That's a liberating feeling, I'll tell you that. And there's a lot of people. David Feeder, I think, paid off his loans, student loans and stuff. You feel lighter, you feel lighter when you have no debt. You're no longer worth less than a newborn baby. Yeah. Financial freedom means different things to different people. It's not all about the Rollies and Lambos. It's a lot of it is just getting out of debt, paying off your credit cards, buying that new house for you and your family. Like that's financial freedom in the simplest form. We're not just out here buying Gucci and Prada and trying to brag. Maybe some of us are, but we're just here trying to get a better life for the people that we love and ourselves, obviously, because you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of other people. Coffee, I really enjoy your perspectives. Thank you. You give crypto a bit of soul. Thank you. I never thought of it that way, but that's pretty nice. I'm looking to compare notes on PulseChain launch strategies. Any advice where I can watch, learn, communicate? You can join my Discord. It does cost money. It's my Patreon, really. It's you're supporting the channel, but you also get a Discord and course coupons, and you get to tell me what content to make in the future. Collaborate with me on anything you want. So we talk a little bit about launch strategies in there, but what I will say about launch strategies is, all right, I'll repeat myself on launch strategies. I know it's like the only thing people talk about, so it gets old. I know it gets old, but the PulseChain launch strategies could go a couple of ways, right? Ratio trading. Number one, I am not going to be ratio trading. Me personally, I'm not doing it. If I was not involved in the PulseChain sacrifice phases, I would personally choose to scale in after the dip, which I imagine will be about like 30 to 60 days after PulseChain launch. Because when you look at any new project, there's almost always a dip from people that got in in, the pre-sale, and then they take short-term profits for 2x, 5x, whatever. And there's a dip. So personally, if I wasn't in both sacrifice phases, I would scale in dollar cost averaging into the dip. Now, that said, the launch strategy that a lot of people talk about is swapping pre-bridge. All you dirty boys and girls want to swap pre-bridge. And guys, quite frankly, it's gonna mess a lot of people up. It's gonna lose a lot of people money because a lot of people might think that they're smart, but they're gonna shoot themselves in the foot. The only way I would ever even fathom, and I probably wouldn't do this, but the only way I could see doing this safely would be to when PulseChain launches, before the bridge launches, if you're talking about pre-bridge swapping, I would probably be using HEX. I'd get my PHEX copy, right? And I probably would be using HEX to swap for Pulse or PulseX. I wouldn't imagine any other coin. Maybe Hedron. That might be a sneaky dark horse, right? You can maybe use some Hedron to scoop up some Pulse or PulseX. Might actually be the move. But you're going to want to look for ratios that are very, very attractive. For example, if you can get, 1,000 PLS per HEX, that sounds like a pretty good deal. Let's assume HEX is 10 cents. Let's assume the launch price of PLS was $0.0001. Well, if HEX is 10 cents and the launch price was 0.0001, then 0.1 divided by 0.0001, that's 1,000. So 1,000 to 1 ratio from HEX to PLS sounds like a pretty good deal. Now, I got to say, you would have to use a limit order in that situation. You would have to use a limit order. I mean, and I'm hoping that limit orders are launched on day one. There's no guarantee they will be, but I think they will be, right? It'd be really nice if limit orders were launched on day one. They might not be because Richard might choose to say, hey, screw the ratio traders. Let them lose all their money. Now, look, if you're trading on PulseX and you see a ratio and you're trying to trade 1 HEX and all you can get for 1 HEX is 50 PLS, think about how bad of a deal that probably is, right? Because let's assume the price of HEX is roughly what it was before the fork. Let's assume that it was about 10 cents at that time. You're going to have to recalculate all this, right? You're going to have to recalculate with whatever the price of HEX was at that time or is, or you get the idea. So if all I can get for 1 HEX is 50 PLS, well, that ratio kind of sucks, right? That ratio would mean, what would that ratio be? 1 to 50. That would mean that a PLS is worth you're paying approximately 2 pennies. If you're buying 1 PLS for 1 HEX and HEX is roughly 10 cents, you're basically buying a pulse for 2 pennies when a lot of people got HEX for 1/1000th of a penny. You know what I mean? Or 1/100th of a penny, rather. So you're buying at like a 200x. Yeah, you're buying at a 200x over what other people got it for. So that would be considered a shit deal, in my opinion. So that's ratio trading for you. And if you're not using a limit order to set a very safe, low limit, meaning, you better be getting a lot of Pulse or a lot of PulseX in exchange for your HEX. You should be getting a lot, not a little. You want more. So set a safe limit order that way. Alternatively, what you could do is, you could buy HEX now, and then assuming that there's a run up when PulseChain happens, you could just take profit on your HEX and sell it into USDC at that time. Probably not all. I personally wouldn't want to dump all of it, but you might want to buy a big bag, right? Maybe stake 50%, leave the other 50% liquid, and then maybe, hoping and praying that we get a HEX run up up to PulseChain launch. Maybe HEX is at like 25 cents by then. Maybe HEX is at 30 cents by then. You could take a hefty profit, assuming you bought HEX at 7 cents today. You can take a 4x in profit, keep that USDC, and then use that USDC to dollar cost average into PulseChain in that month or two after launch, like we were just talking about. So that also seems like a pretty safe, reasonable bet. If I didn't load my bags in the sacrifice phase, that might be what I would consider doing. Obviously, I'd want to have my HEX staking ladder, try to time the bull market, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And, maybe every 6 months between 2 and 4 years from now. But then I'd also just want to be holding the bag of HEX that I would sell it on a pump in order to get the cash for USDC to put into Pulse and PulseX, right? That's another way you can go about it. Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. So hopefully that answered your question. If you want to talk more, you can join the Patreon. Feel free to support the Patreon, guys. But that's kind of the gist of it. Like, I'm not going to give you any crazy alpha, right? Like, there's nothing really. I think that kind of covers it, right? Like those scenarios that I laid out. Dollar cost average at the dip, stake some HEX, sell some HEX into the run up. Really, really safe ratio trading. I mean, that's kind of like all you can do. There's not that many crazy options. Now, you might want to consider doing like a Hedron PLS swap or some, predicting what other coins are going to be popular and have a lot of volume and a lot of liquidity pools. But again, you're gambling that there are going to be liquidity pools and that the ratios are still going to be good for, let's say, the HEX, or let's say the Hedron PLS pair. Number one, you have to just hope that somebody puts that pair up, right? That liquidity pair. Number two, you got to hope that there's like a mismatch of Hedron to PLS and that you can sneak in there and get a really good deal, right? But that's kind of a useful tangent when it comes to strategies. It might not always be as simple as, just swap HEX for Pulse, right? Or swap PulseX for PLS. Be very careful swapping PLSX for PLS, because I think that's going to be like the lemming move, that's the one that everyone's doing because they're not staying up to date. They're not watching YouTube. They just got into PulseX and they have no idea why. They just heard about it because there was so much hype on PulseChain and they said, I don't want to miss PulseX. So they got into PulseX because it came after Pulse and it was a much longer sacrifice than Pulse. There's a lot of itchy lemmings ready to run off the cliff on that one, guys. They got their finger on the trigger. They're ready to shoot themselves right in the foot. A lot of these lemming boys in PLSX, I predict they're probably going to be trying to dump it at PLS right away, like pre-bridge. And it just doesn't seem like the move, It just seems like, well, duh, if everyone's going to do that, you're going to get a terrible rate. You're probably not going to be happy, right? He said you'll join. Osprey will join my Patreon. Thank you, sir. Totally optional, guys. Totally optional. How about swapping HEX for PLS? I think I just talked about that, bro. I just talked about swapping HEX for PLS. Lemming boys. Yeah, a lot of you lemming boys out there. I'm going to swap my PulseX for PLS. It's like, bruh, how many? You think you're the only person in the world that ever had that idea? You got a lot of midwits out there. They're going to, the crowd is usually wrong, right? You usually want to zig when everyone else zags. It's hard to do, right? But when the prices are down on one coin and up on another coin, that's typically when you want to buy the one that's down. But no, everyone wants to buy the one that's up because it's confirmation buy. They feel more comfortable. They feel comfortable because, so many other people bought it. Must be a good idea. It must keep going up because other people bought it. So somehow that's good. You really need to do the opposite thing. You need to focus your attention where people's financial energy is not currently at. Right? If you want to do these, if you're talking about scaling into coins, you want to get into them when, let's say, all the limelight is on PLS. Well, it might be kind of a nice time to stock up on PulseX. You know what I mean? The Barnsley boys. Yeah, the Barnsley boys. It reminds me of the South Park, right? The Harley boys. I'm getting a raging clue right now, guys. Getting a raging clue. I'm going to swap dollars for PLS when ramp is available. That sounds nice and safe, bro. Sounds like you won't be disappointed on that one, probably. All right, guys. How long have I been yapping for? 49 minutes. I'm going to sit still and watch the show. Me too. I'm going to get my popcorn. I'm going to have to literally, I'm going to make an announcement when PulseChain launches. Do not send me any I will not be responding to anything. Maybe my Discord only, because there's only 40 people in there. I will not be responding to anything publicly. People are going to be tagging me in Twitter comments and what should I do with my money? And it's like, okay, you're a big boy. You figure out for yourself what to do with your money. You think for yourself here. That's what we do. We don't give financial advice. We teach people how to think critically, and then we take responsibility for our own actions. We put our big boy pants on because we're all grown men and women. And Guys, I wouldn't want financial advice from anyone else. Opinions, maybe, a little opinions, bouncing ideas off each other, but you don't want to be looking to people on YouTube as like some guru that has all the answers. Be very, very careful about that. I kind of wasted a lot of time in my early crypto days thinking that there were just these gurus that knew more than I did, when really you buy and hold and you shut the hell up. And that's what a lot of people just don't want to tell you. A lot of people just flap their lips. Oh, the macro, what's the CPI today? Oh, and ironically, that's what I'm doing too. The irony is not lost on me. My grinder DMs still open at launch, lol. I'm starting to notice a lot of new chains rushing to launch. Interesting. Well, yeah, you don't want to rush to launch. I mean, you don't want to. Everyone thinks, oh, you just make your own chain and it's golden, peachy, number go up forever. It's really hard to do. It's really hard to do it right as well. So you can't just keep making chains. I mean, people lose. I really think PulseChain will be kind of the last great layer one to be built. Phantom, Avalanche, AVAX, that is Avalanche. Phantom, AVAX, Optimism, maybe Arbitrum. There's only a couple, maybe 4 or 5 that are Binance Smart Chain, obviously. There's only going to be like maybe 10 layer ones that are worth noting. PulseChain could easily take the 2 or 3 spot. Ding, ding, ding. HEX giving us daily yield as usual. Indeed. You guys don't realize that when you're so attached to the chart, you're gonna get sad about a red candle on a chart. That's literally the buying opportunity staring you in the face, and you're just gonna complain. A lot of you guys are not gonna make it. HEX's second blossom in May. I would love that. I would love a mid-May launch. And the Richard Hart prophecy would be fulfilled. Mid-May. He meant 2023, guys. He meant 2023. The money printer never stops. The HEX money printer. Yeah. Neither does the Federal Reserve money printer. So it's probably a good thing. All right, boys and girls, what do you want to talk about? The narrative of HEX, PulseChain. HEX is a store of value. HEX needs a new home. HEX is out on the streets looking for a new home. The little condo that HEX bought on Ethereum got too expensive. The landlord kept raising the prices, and now little old HEX is walking down the street with a stick on his back, looking like a hobo, but it's waiting for that new home. And that home is PulseChain, guys. It's much cheaper. It's much better quality. It's a new home for HEX. It's a new home for all kinds of different coins, guys. Oh, fiat, man. Has anybody heard about E-Fiat? PHIAT? I got into that sacrifice phase super last minute, but I'm pretty blown away, very pleasantly surprised with fiat. So let's check out E-Fiat, guys. I'll share my screen here. I'll show you guys a chart if you guys want to look at a chart. Here we go. Yeah, you've got this is the HEX chart, not E-Fiat. E-Fiat. Look at that, man. Almost back at all time. It almost looks like it might break out and do a breakout here pretty soon. I don't know. But usually when things do blow off tops, it's very, very good. I think the sacrifice price was like 10 cents or something, 12 cents maybe. So congrats anyone that got into this one. It wasn't my biggest holding, but I did put a little bit in, and I'm super happy that I did because, man, immediate 5x. Immediate. And for people that don't know what this project is, it's a fork of Aave. For people that don't know what Aave is, it's basically a borrowing protocol on Ethereum, all decentralized. So say I want to take out a loan in DAI, I can use Ethereum as my collateral, to take out this loan, and it's like leverage. You can use it as kind of a leverage trading platform, although that's very risky. And fiat is just a clone of that, but it's a clone of Aave, but with all of the Richard Hart ecosystem coins. I think they're even going to throw Zen in there. All of the coins that are in our orbit are going to be able to borrow and lend over on E-Fiat, PHIAT.io. And E-Fiat is the Ethereum version. And I got to let me mention this and be very clear about this. So what they're doing with the E-Fiat versus P-Fiat is they're launching and deploying the contracts for E-Fiat on Ethereum, and they're launching it in probably a week or two. I don't know exactly when. I think about a week or two is my guess. And so they're going to let people play around on Ethereum. You can now short HEX, right? You can short HEX, which is going to bring a lot of attention over to HEX. And if people are smart, they know that that's actually a good thing, because shorters usually get wrecked. It makes the price go up. But yeah, so they're giving away everyone's coins on E-Fiat. They're distributing all the coins, all the sacrifice balances on E-Fiat, but then they're redeploying the contract on PulseChain when it launches. So they're not just, you're not just like getting your forked copy. They're redeploying the contract, meaning that you get your coins again on PulseChain. So it's not just like, the odds of E-Fiat really having any value as its forked copy are pretty slim to none. You're getting issued a new P-Fiat, native fiat token you're getting a PulseChain native version and an Ethereum native version. So I'm trying to explain that in simple terms. It's like the contract is not being forked over. When PulseChain launches, it's not just being copied over. It's being redeployed, starting from scratch again. Same contract, just redeployed. So looking pretty tasty. Tasty little pumperoni on E-Fiat right now, guys. Did I sack for Power City? No, I did not. Nothing against him. I just did not. I just chose not to. Do you think a huge liquidity play will bind HEX, PLS, PulseX to pump in unison? That would be ideal and definitely possible, TC. Definitely possible. Definitely. Oh, but I mean, I'm going to go back to E-Fiat really quick. Basically, the use case of this coin, guys, is it's very simple. You just stake it in the platform and you earn platform fees. So every time you use the platform, just like Uniswap, right? You pay a swapping fee every time you swap on Uniswap. Where do those fees go? Well, on Uniswap, they go to the liquidity providers. On E-Fiat, they're going to go to the people staking their E-Fiat. So you stake this coin and you're entitled to, let's say I'm staking 1% of all the coins. That means I get 1% of all the fees. And people are transacting all day long. We'll see. We'll see how much passive income it can make. I know the Aave protocol generates about 18% APY right now. 18% is pretty good. It's not HEX returns, but it's pretty good. And, I don't know if you're getting these fees paid in all kinds of different currencies. You might be getting fees in all kinds of different tokens, right? If people are paying their fees in Hedron or HEX or whatever other token, the fees might be coming in all kinds of different forms is what I'm saying. I don't actually know the answer to that. I don't know how the fees are going to work because they haven't launched the platform yet. So very, very curious to see how that works out when they launch the platform. I'm not going to be doing any leverage trading myself. Wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole personally. That's just not me, guys. I'm just not a trader. But some people will. Some people will. And if you want to just stake your fiat and chill, might be a good way to earn some extra revenue. What to do if your wallet is dusted? I don't think it's a problem, really. Dusting is just when somebody sends you an unsolicited, it's the unsolicited dick pic of crypto. It's basically what dusting is. It's like someone will just send 1,000 wallets, one token of some crap coin, right? And they do this to try to advertise, right? Like, I think in the early HEX days, we sent 100 HEX to Mark Cuban and all these famous people to try to get their attention a little bit. And 100 HEX isn't quite dusting, but a lot of people will just send these arbitrary tokens to random wallets for no reason, for scamming purposes. But the token itself is not really an issue. You just got to ignore it. So if your wallet's dusted, just ignore the token. Don't fall for the scam. Don't click on the token and try to figure out what it is. And definitely don't go to the website and try to read all about the token. 99% of the time, it's blatant scam when you get dusted. But it's not like it hurts you. It's just like, okay, you have this coin in your wallet. It's just chilling in your wallet. It's not doing anything, but it's probably going to get you wrecked if you try to go to their website or whatever, connect your MetaMask and stuff. Long and short, whatever you want, including HEX and most everything else that Aave ignored / gatekept. Yeah, it's basically Aave without gatekeeping. It's neat that all the stakers get the fees too. Yeah, long and short, whatever you want, guys. Although really, I really advise against shorting anything. Okay. Can I explain how liquidity will work when Pulse launches? What? It's literally the title of my video. No, it's not. Not at all the title of my video. And no, I will not. Watch my past videos, dude. I talk about liquidity all day long. You just go to PulseX, you click the liquidity tab, you provide an equal amount of coins. I have a video from like a couple weeks ago. It's called "Is PulseX Liquidity Farming Worth It?" If you want to know about liquidity, go watch that video. It's a full tutorial. And yeah, don't know what else to tell you. Coffee, any value in swapping almost all ETH into other ERC20s? HEX would be my pick before the fork, as ETH on Pulse is worth nothing. Well, ETH on Pulse is worth, it's worth almost nothing. You'll still get, that your ETH will be converted to PLS, and you'll still have enough money to pay for gas fees. Straight after the fork, swap your EHEX back into ETH. Yes, that's a pretty good point, actually. So what this guy is saying is like, let's say you have a good size of ETH, right? A good chunk of ETH. You got like 5 Ethereum, right? Maybe that's like $7,000, $8,000. Let's say you got $10,000 worth of Ethereum. Well, if you want to just do a quick little flip and maybe like, put that money into HEX right before the fork, just so that you have more HEX to be copied over. And then on the Ethereum chain, you could swap it right back. Here's the risk though, right? Let's say you swap. It's risky, right? Because if you're swapping all your ETH for EHEX and the EHEX price dumps, it goes down 90% in 5 minutes, right? The price could dump really, really fast after the fork. So it's really, really risky. You might not be able to recover the full value of your ETH. Now, if you want to gamble on another token like Shiba or something like that, if you want if there's a token where you think the free copy will be worth a lot, or if you want to try to do this really, really fast before EHEX dumps, it's risky, right? It's risky. Yeah, I don't know, but it's a good point of like that ETH is just sitting there and it's not going to be worth very much because it's going to be 5 ETH turning into 5 PLS. That's like a penny, right? It's not very much. But here's the thing though. You swap it all into HEX, the fork happens, and if you're not quick enough, EHEX could dump, 50% by the time you swap all that HEX back for Ethereum. So if you're okay with holding on to the EHEX too, then yeah, I mean, that sounds good. Just it's very dangerous. I mean, be careful, but something to consider for sure. Benny, I think his physical appearance. What? Look, I mean, if you want to swap the Ethereum for HEX and just hold the EHEX like that, that's probably a pretty good play, because then you can just do liquidity bonding over on PulseX later on. If you're bullish on HEX, that's probably a great play. If you're bullish on HEX, I don't think EHEX will dump much, and if it does, it will recover quickly. I do think it will dump for sure. I'd be prepared for a pretty big dump, man. I mean, look at Big Payday, right? A lot of people treated Big Payday like a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And so it dumped like 70, 80% in 1 day or 3 days or something. But yeah, it did recover quickly, and EHEX might recover quickly too, but I don't think the dump will be small. Let me just say that. But hey, I would love to be wrong on that one. I just don't think so. I personally am of the belief that certain people are going to be traders, little trade tards are going to trade, and they're going to treat, to some degree, they're going to treat it like a buy the rumor, sell the news event, meaning they're going to be like, okay, I got my HEX, I got my copy, dump EHEX. EHEX is worthless now, dump it. That's how some people are going to think. Obviously, I like both. I want to hold both, and I want the value to be stable on both chains and strong. And I do believe that one day, maybe a week or two later after the dust settles, that if you liquidity bond EHEX and PHEX together, the prices can rise in tandem with each other. And so that would be very, very good, especially for long-term stakers like me. But I'm just saying, I would expect a dip. Trade tards are going to trade. Or people that just don't realize that EHEX will continue to have value. Like I realize that EHEX will continue to have a lot of value after the liquidity is bonded. So I have no intention of dumping my EHEX, right? No intention. If anything, I'm gonna actually experiment with liquidity bonding myself. I might bridge in some EHEX and pair that with PHEX to back the value of my PulseChain copies. I just know that some people don't get that. Some people just think that EHEX is just automatically worthless, and it's not true. But for longer term players, you're gonna get probably gonna get rewarded on that, especially if you're just holding and staking in long term ladders. You might 1.2x, 1.3x your money. Let's say EHEX tracks PHEX at what, roughly 30% of PHEX's value. That means you just got a 1.3x, right? For free, for just staking long term. Pretty good, guys. You see what I'm trying to say with the EHEX? Some people won't believe, but if you're already locked and staked anyway, might as well continue to hold it, because when that liquidity bonding comes in, if and when, I'm personally going to wait a month or two because I don't want a liquidity bond until everyone's done dumping their EHEX. Once the dumpers dump it, let the paper hand lettuce boys, soy boys sell. After all the lettuce is out, we got to shake out all that lettuce. Then we can go in with the liquidity bonding. That might be 2 weeks later. It might be 2 months later. I don't know how quickly it's going to happen, but I would guess, if I had to guess, I would think that it would happen relatively quickly, because just look at Big Payday, right? Big Payday is a good example of how irrational and short-term minded people can be, and then how wrong they can be 2 weeks later, right? Or 2 months later. Great example. It's November 19th, 2020. If you guys want to go back to that chart, I can just pull it up. I'll show you guys Big Payday. Big Payday. Oh, I'm on the V2 chart. V1. Yep, this was it. It's funny because people don't even think, oh my gosh, you guys. It's funny because Big Payday doesn't look like it's anything in the, when you're looking at it in retrospect, you're like, oh, that's just a tiny little dip. I would have just bought the dip. No, when you're experiencing a dip like that, it is different. People are highly emotional, highly irrational. Everyone's shouting from the rooftops, HEX is dead, HEX is dead, yay. All the Eric Walls dancing around his bedroom. Dancing around his mom's basement. Like, it's finally dead. Look at it, guys. And the grand scheme of things, this dip right here, this Big Payday dip, where my mouse is at, it ended up being a nothing burger. The HEX price 2 months later made a new all-time high in January. November 20th was the big dump, was the beginning of the dump, Big Payday. Or November kind of started at the beginning of November, lasted until November 20th. That was the big dip. That was the actual day after, this big wick over here. And guys, if you were experiencing that at the time, it looked like, imagine this is all the chart history you had. Imagine you didn't know that HEX was going to go on from 0.003 pennies to 50 cents. If you didn't believe, and this is all you had to look at. Oh, I should pull it up, huh? If this is all you had to look at, you might have been one of those salty hater boys screaming, HEX is dead, HEX is dead. You couldn't have been more wrong, right? You couldn't have been more wrong, but it feels like when you're experiencing it, and let's turn on the linear scale. Linear scale is how it feels at the time, right? Log scale it just shows the exponential rise a little bit easier, but this is how it felt, guys. November 2nd. Oh, everyone's front running the Big Payday dump. Oh, we got a little recovery. Oh, everyone's front running the Big Payday dump because everyone thinks it's going to dump. And then it did dump. This is the day after. So Big Payday was the 19th. Day after was the 20th, the aftermath. And we were all on a 24-hour live stream, just laughing, having a good time, because we knew it wasn't, in the long run, we knew it wasn't a big deal. This is probably what's going to happen to EHEX at launch. So look at it, guys. I'm going to put a little arrow here for you. Put a little arrow right here. Make it yellow. Because why not? And then Hex is dead. Hex is dead. Haha, I told you. Hex is a scam. Nope. Screw you, hater boy. I'm getting rich again. 2 months later, new all-time high. Then we kind of stayed at the 1 penny range for a while, and then boom, off to the races. April comes around, 2 cents, all the way back up to 50. And when you look at it, zoom out, new all-time high, new all-time high. Oh my God, look at all that. Look at all these crazy candles. And then down 90%, LOL. But no, we turn log scale on because look at it on the linear scale, guys. look at this is the power of linear scale right here versus log. This is why you don't read linear charts, especially in long-term chart history. That yellow arrow right there, that was that was like the most emotionally, for some people on that yellow arrow day, they were so stressed out. They thought it was all over. They were fudding themselves out. All the lettuce, paper, soy hand boys were just screaming and crying and triggered. And, you know, they had to go back to their moms. And it was a nothing burger. Because look at it on the log scale. Look at it on the log scale. It's like, oh, and you look back on this and you're like, oh, that's just a little dip buying opportunity. I would have bought that. No, you probably wouldn't. A lot of people out there are all talk. They wouldn't have bought that dip. They would have said, oh, Hex is a scam. I'm gone. But really, guys, that's the best time to buy. So just think about it. Think about the fact that EHEX is not going anywhere. Think about the fact that EHEX can be bonded to PHEX in terms of price performance. And just consider what you might want to do. I'm not selling my EHEX, guys. I'm not selling it. So other people will. Other people will. All right, guys. 1 hour, 12 minutes. You guys want to talk about anything else? I think that was a good point to end on. How do you guys think? How do you guys think EHEX is going to have no value? Couldn't be more wrong. Stop sharing. Okay. Fed now. Thoughts? Isn't that just like an interbank system to settle ACH transfers faster? Fed now is not the same as a CBDC. Got to clarify that. Fed now is not a CBDC, but it's a precursor for sure. I mean, it's just they're basically updating their technology because ACH is awful. You know, the SWIFT system and waiting 3 days for a transaction to clear, 3 business days. That system sucks. So that's FedNow is kind of just instant settlements for interbank transfers, I believe. Kind of not that interesting, but cool, I guess. EHEX will be fine. Yes, EHEX will be fine. EHEX will be explosive. Wow, one guy says fine, one guy says explosive. I think it's going to recover nicely. I don't know if it'll ever be that. The real question for me that I just don't know, and I'm admitting that I don't know, is that I don't know if the price of EHEX will ever actually reach parity. I think it's likely that the prices go up and down together in parity, but I do believe that it would make sense to me if the actual physical price of EHEX tracked PHEX, but it was only like maybe 50% of PHEX's price, or 40% or 70%. I don't know. Maybe it'd be 1-to-1. Maybe it would be an exact copy. That would be amazing. And I guess it could happen if you play the liquidity card right. I just don't know. I just think a lot of people will choose to sell their EHEX. And so I think the prices will be different, but the movements will be in lockstep eventually. Word on the street is the highest of stakes signed a deal. Nice. I like that rumor. I don't have any source for that, but this guy in the chat checks my pulse. He says highest of stakes signed a deal. For people that don't know, this is the documentary, HEX documentary, coming to a local streaming platform near you. I don't know if it's going to be Hulu or Netflix or whatever, HBO. All right. FedNow is removing all risk from FedNow is just removing all risk from any bank's risk management position. And of course, it's terrible about legislation, kicking the can down the road. Yeah, I don't have a super strong opinion. I just feel like it's they're just trying to survive and stay relevant, basically. I mean, they just have outdated tech, and this is a minor step up from them, I guess. All right. Guys, thank you all for coming. All 300 of you guys. Smash the like, subscribe. I hope I didn't miss any super chats because I've been not really paying attention. It's okay. You guys didn't want to give me any money today. It's okay. Coffee will starve today. Little coffee's gonna starve today because nobody gave me a super chat. Wah. All right, thanks guys. Like and subscribe. I love all you guys. We're gonna make it. Be patient. I know it sucks, but PulseChain any day now. Richard, please. See you guys on the next one.